Why is my phone blowing up? Oh, Brad Marchand replied to another one of my roster suggestion tweets. Great. Let's talk about that and more on today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoked B. Today is Wednesday, January 18th. It's a Bruins game day. They're on Long Island to take on the Islanders. We'll preview that game later on in this episode. First, a quick thank you to all those who subscribe and listen to the podcast regularly. It means so much. And you, of course, can find the podcast on your favorite podcast app, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google. Pocket Casts is what I use. And also on YouTube, where we're 11 subscribers away from 1,000. Please do subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not already. And you'll be entered to win this Tim Hortons Patrice Bergeron mini stick. If you're on Twitter, you can find the podcast at Locked NHL Bruins, and you can find me, my dad jokes, hockey tweets at Ian C. McLaren. And that's exactly what Brad Marchand did last night, replying to my suggestion that the Bruins add Edmonton Oilers forward Jesse Puljujarvi to the top nine. Jesse Puljujarvi was healthy scratched by the Edmonton Oilers last night. 24 years old, 4th overall pick, and he just has not been able to put it together in Edmonton this year or any other year, really. He did have 14 goals, 36 points in 65 games last season. Kind of not a dissimilar track to Pavel Zacha in New Jersey. A high draft pick. Wasn't quite able to put it together. Change of scenery. Look where Zacha is now, having just signed a 4-year, $19 million contract extension with the Boston Bruins. Puljujarvi hasn't been able to find the back of the net with regularity this season. He's been open about his struggles mentally, questioning whether he has what it takes to play at the NHL level. There may have been some translation there, but he's shooting only 6% on the season and averaging only 12 minutes and 47 seconds of ice time, which is down from over 16 last year. It's clear he doesn't fit into Edmonton's plans. And there's even some reports that they would be willing to throw in a draft pick in order to trade him. The Bruins have a track record of picking up players or taking players under their wings and helping them find themselves, to find their games. You just look at Zacha. You look at Jake DeBrusk last year, going through some personal stuff, asking for a trade. The guy stood with him. He jumped on the top line. And the Bruins leadership group is such that they can help turn a guy like him around. And there's just tons of potential there. He's an excellent defensive player. As Evolving Wild pointed out, he's a top 20 defensive player in the NHL this season. Don't look at plus minus, please. That is just such a misleading stat. And there's some room for offensive growth there as well. Again, he had 36 points in 65 games last season, 14 goals, 22 assists. I know a lot of people say he can't produce. He's not producing alongside Connor McDavid. There's a lot of pressure playing with a Connor McDavid. You often default to him to take over. You'd think you should be able to get points kind of by osmosis, but it's not that simple. 4 goals, 6 assists through 45 games this season. And again, Edmonton's basically trying to give him away. So I tweeted Marchand, Bergeron, DeBrusque, Zacha, Krejci, Pastrnak, Hall, Coyle, Puljujarvi. No disrespect intended to Trent Frederic there. He has been fantastic this season. You put him on the fourth line with Foligno and Nosek, you're gold. Merlot line is where legends are made. We know this. Yeah, you take Craig Smith out of the lineup, perhaps AJ Greer. That's a pretty formidable top 12. Perhaps it's a modest upgrade or you're betting on a future upgrade. Again, Puljujarvi, still only 24 years old, and the Bruins have very few forwards signed for next season. He'll be a restricted free agent. It fits with Don Sweeney's MO of trading for players with some contractual hold, not a rental. And I just think it makes a ton of sense to at least suggest or explore. I know a lot of fans came at me saying, how dare you disrespect Trent Frederic like that? It's not like that. It's just put him on the fourth line. They're even that much better. Anyways, I'm watching Last of Us last night. Brad Marchand replies to my tweet with a shush emoji. Now, this comes after in the summer, he replied to another one of my tweets with tough take, where I suggested that if Bergeron didn't come back, if you have no Krejci, then perhaps you explore trading Brad Marchand and attempt to rebuild, retool. Premature on my part, obviously. And Brad had every right to say tough take to that. Now, what does the shush emoji mean? If you look at Emojipedia, it says may convey silence, quiet, secrecy, discreetness, may also create a sense of buzz and anticipation, an exclusive sneak peek or news scoop, for instance. A lot of people interpret it as that Brad Marchand is onto something. He knows the Bruins are exploring this. We know the Bruins often talk to their players when they're considering a move. They don't always agree. In the case of Mitchell Miller, the Bruins did it anyways. That's another story. But it's more likely that he's just telling me to shush, to be quiet. The Bruins are rolling. They're a wagon, and there's no need to disrupt anything. I'm not the only person out here making suggestions for the Bruins ahead of the trade deadline. You're always looking to improve. You're always looking towards the future. Jesse Puljujarvi could be a kind of Pavel Zacha 2.0 for the Boston Bruins, a guy who finds himself, again, he had 36 points last season in 70 games for the New Jersey Devils. That was his career high. 36 points in 65 games for Puljujarvi last season, so that's a better point per game average. Zacha was a minus 21 last season, if you're still looking at that. Puljujarvi was plus 22 last season, for the record. And he's shooting below his career average this season, so there's some offensive upside there as well. If the Oilers are giving this guy away, he plays a Bruins-type game, responsible defensively, can be heavy on the puck. There's some offensive potential there to yet be untapped. And perhaps he might benefit from being in a lower pressure situation than having to play wingman to Connor McDavid. Just a suggestion. Brad Marchand shushed it, whether it's to say, keep this on the DL, or just to say, once again, Ian, be quiet, stop talking. Probably the latter, but interesting that he did indeed reply to that. Probably more to stand up for Trent Frederic. Again, no disrespect intended to Frederic. He's been great this year. a fourth line of Foligno, Frederick, and Nosek could be very effective for them in the postseason. Anyways, we're going to preview tonight's game against the Islanders and also talk about how good Jeremy Swayman has been of late. But first, a quick word about today's sponsor, which is BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. You can get all the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from NFL divisional playoffs to ongoing NBA and NHL schedules, upcoming MLB season. You can get futures, props, odds, lines, everything you need at betonline.net. If you love sports podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. They're the fastest and easiest way to get all your betting info. You just head to their website today or use their mobile app to learn more at BetOnline, where the game starts. So yesterday, in talking about the win over the Philadelphia Flyers, I focused mostly on David Krejci, the check line. Didn't talk as much about Jeremy Swayman, who made 29 saves to pick up his first shutout of the season, extending his personal point streak to 7 games, 5-0-2. He was maligned a bit recently for a questionable performance. I think it was against the Sabres on New Year's Eve, where he allowed 4 goals on 25 shots. But he's been pretty lights out over the last little bit. In fact, since returning from an injury in mid-November, he's 8-2-3 with a .920 save percentage and a .209 goals against average in 13 games. His save percentage is 9th in the NHL over that span, and his goals against average is 3rd behind Philip Gustafsson of the Minnesota Wild and, of course, his goalie partner, Linus Ullmark. Swayman says he has been trying to practice patience over the last little bit, knowing whether shots are coming, being prepared for it, working on it in practice, repetition, games, all of the above. But the guys in front of him make his job easy, he said. It's awesome to be part of a team like this, shut it down in front of him, give him a chance to see the first shot. Jim Montgomery has been very pleased with what he's seen from Swayman and Ullmark, of course, in recent weeks. 9 or so starts in a row where he's played well, and Montgomery said, "We have the best tandem in the league," and it's pretty hard to debate that at the moment. It was a couple weeks ago, people were saying call up Keith Kincaid after that .840 save percentage in that game against the Sabres, but since then he's won 3 in a row, allowed only 3 goals against the Kings, Ducks, and Flyers, and Jeremy Swayman will likely get another start in the next couple of days with back-to-backs against the New York Rangers and the New York Islanders. Before we preview tonight's game against the Islanders, a news item to pass along. Una Koppinen was recalled from Providence on Tuesday morning, and he will play against the Islanders tonight, according to Jim Montgomery. He made his NHL debut last week against Seattle before being reassigned to the Providence Bruins. He'll sub in for Thomas Nosek, who's been given a game off as he continues to recover from a nagging injury that's been hindering him, especially in the face-off dot. So it's not necessarily a scratch. It's an opportunity for Koppinen to play. Jim Montgomery said Nosek is understanding of the situation. It's a game to get him back to 100% health, which is the goal for the Boston Bruins. And they have the luxury right now of being so far ahead of teams that they can practice some load management and get some guys rested and fully healthy for the playoff push. Going to preview tonight's game against the Islanders. Coming up, quick thank you once again for subscribing to Locked On Boston Bruins, for making it part of your daily routine. Please do smash that subscribe button if you have not already. And especially on YouTube, you can be inserted into the draw to win that Brad Marchand mini stick. All right, so the New York Islanders come into this one 4-4-2 over their past 10 games, and they are trying to stay in the thick of the Eastern Conference playoff picture. As it stands, they are on the outside looking in. They're tied with the Pittsburgh Penguins at 50 points. Pittsburgh right now holding down the second wildcard spot. The thing is, the Islanders have played 2 more games. So the Penguins have a much better point percentage, 581 compared to 556 for the Islanders. Islanders have plus 12 goal differential. Pittsburgh down at plus 9. Now, one of their star players, Matt Barzal, he recently missed a game due to injury. He's been relatively ineffective since, which hurts my fantasy team at the moment. Past 4 games, he has failed to record a point. So will we get the inevitable breakout to keep that 2015 draft storyline going, or will the Bruins be able to suppress Matt Barzal and the New York Islanders? Scott Mayfield, defenseman, leads them in points over the past 5 games with 3, to show you how their offense is faring at the moment. Whereas Boston, David Pastrnak, 8 goals and 10 points over his last 5 games. Islanders power play is fairly inept, 27th ranked compared to Boston's 3rd ranked power play. They're a pretty good penalty killing team. They rank 6th in the NHL. Boston is at 1st, of course. Islanders, a decent defensive team as well, allowing 2.69 goals per game, which ranks 8th. Boston, of course, ranks 1st in goals allowed per game at 2.12, and they're now 1st in goals for per game as well at 3.81. Now, this could be a very tight game, seeing as it's likely to be a matchup of 2 of the frontrunners for the Vezina Trophy. Swayman could get the start, and I mentioned how hot he's been as of late. If it's Ullmark, 23, 2-1, 192 goals against average, 936 save percentage. Few goalies can even come close to his success this season. One of those guys, however, plays for the Islanders in Ilya Sorokin. He's far behind in terms of record, only 15, 4-3. It's more of a statement on the Islanders as a team, but 925 save percentage and a 230 goals against average puts him near Ullmark in those categories, and he leads the NHL in shutouts with 3. Actually, he's tied for second, behind Darcy Kemper of the Washington Capitals. The fact that he plays for the Islanders kind of bumps his Vezina consideration. They're not as good as the Bruins. So he's a guy who could very well steal a game for Boston tonight, considering how inept their offense has been. I'm predicting like a 2-1 game. And we all know the Islanders do seem to have Boston's number at times in the past. So not expecting a super exciting game. It's the TNT game this week, so it starts at 7:30, probably later than that with all the pregame stuff. Don't expect a barn burner tonight, but hopefully the Bruins come out with the win, and then they'll be back in action tomorrow night against the New York Rangers. Tomorrow's show, I will recap tonight's game, preview tomorrow's game, and we'll do our weekly cup check where we look at where the Bruins rank among the NHL's top 5 teams. All right, that's it for today, friends. Thank you so much for taking some time to listen. Thank you for the continued support, and we'll remain on Puljujarvi watch, such as it is. And hope you're all doing well. I did check out, like I mentioned, Last of Us last night. If you're looking for something to watch, we're kind of reluctant because of just having wrapped up Walking Dead. It's a kind of a pandemic-y type show, but the first episode was pretty entertaining. I was kind of caught off guard by the agility of the zombies compared to their Walking Dead cousins. We also recently watched the Vatican Girl Netflix documentary, which was super compelling. And that's pretty much it, I think. Take care of yourselves, friends. Take care of each other. And we'll talk to you again here tomorrow on Locked On Boston Bruins, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day.